This man used a lighter to test the gold, burning it to see if it would blacken. When it didn't, he and his partner began frantically digging. But despite their efforts, the gold seemed bottomless. It wasn't just a gold nugget but an entire mountain of gold. They tried pulling it out with a car, but even that failed as the car broke down. Jim suggested that Mike stay behind to guard the gold while he traveled to rent an excavator, a journey that would take at least 4 days. Tempted by the promise of unimaginable wealth, Mike agreed. Before leaving, Jim left Mike with food to last 4 days. Fearing that someone might discover the treasure, Mike buried it under dirt and built a makeshift tent next to a tree. Despite his precautions, the desert was full of dangers. Fearing the freezing nighttime temperatures, Mike collected firewood for warmth. However, as night fell, wild dogs approached. Luckily, the campfire he had lit kept them at bay, allowing him to survive the night. The next morning, Mike woke up feeling unsafe and gathered more wood to fend off the wild dogs. While searching, he noticed a crashed plane on a nearby hill. In the vast desert, the wreckage seemed like the perfect shelter. Though it was far from the gold, he dismantled parts of the plane and dragged them back to the site, constructing a sturdy tent. But that night, the wild dogs returned, forcing him to endure another night of fear. Determined to reinforce his shelter, Mike returned to the plane to salvage more materials. Just then, a woman appeared in the distance, asking what he was doing. Worried she'd discover the gold, Mike avoided answering. Suspicious, the woman followed his footprints and found the treasure. She demanded a share, but Mike refused, knocking her unconscious with a shovel. Panicked, he dug a hole to bury her, thinking it would hide the evidence. Yet, the wild dogs unearthed her body. Desperate, Mike chased them off and cremated the corpse. By then, he realized he had become a greed-driven monster. The following morning, Mike was awakened by his radio. Jim had bad news. His car had broken down on the way to fetch the excavator, delaying him by another 2 days. Distraught, Mike spotted a truck approaching but chose not to flag it down, fearing the gold would be discovered. Instead, he resumed gathering firewood. Suddenly, a massive sandstorm swept across the desert, threatening everything. This movie is called Gold. If you're intrigued, don't miss the original film.